I know, right? Let's see what else we got. Tax note, water.
Oh,
That's the budget.
Yeah, that's the word.
okay, I would have never
Yeah.
thought.
So these are comments, and you want to hold that one? It doesn't have a number on it, though.
So,
Coaching.
the enterprise fund design
No, I
and
just work ballpark. What's up, people coach?
Dude, okay.
Right.
They probably-
But that's their question.
yeah.
But you're doing
Well, there's a
water,
thing, I
so
wonder
do you want to
water.
put this under water, or you want to put it in the beginning with the comments then?
Whatever, is Marcy here?
Marcy? Marcy,
Is she here?
There's a flat.
this is right there.
Oh,
You don't have a number on this and you said water. Do you want it in the beginning,
Yeah,
or do you want it under
Some was 2010.
budget?
It's not about the
Whatever now.
Okay,
Okay.
so you want it up here, okay.
well, that,
Comments.
you can add, we will probably address that during the workshop too, so.
Okay.
But depending on what the question is.
Okay, call the meeting to order. It is June 24th, 2025 at 6 PM. Dina, do we have a quorum?
Yes, ma'am, we have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. So we're excited to have Nancy Brown is going to lead us in the prayer.
Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight asking that you would please be with our mayor and our city council. Guide them, give them your wisdom tonight. Help them with all the decisions that they have to make. May they all be in agreement, Father. We pray that you would be with our community. We know we're so blessed to live in Willow Park. Father, we pray that you would be with all of our citizens, guide us and direct us, help us to be able to be proud of this city from now on. Father, we ask your blessings on everything that's said and done here tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen, thank you. Now we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you.
Not me.
Okay, so we have some public comments, and we have 3 minutes, I guess, on the timer. So Harold, did I say it right? Hush, let's say that right. Okay, Harold.
I have some handouts I want to pass out first. I forgot to.
Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like one?
Yes,
And I do.
Sure.
I'm sure you're glad to have it.
Okay, Harold.
Okay, my name is Harold Heish. I'm at 79 Crown Road. I've been living in Willow Park for 35 years, just to let you know that. My reason for coming in tonight is my driveway on Crown Road. Now, I realize that this is probably as a closed item, but I would like for y'all to really consider opening it back up, especially now since we have a new mayor, new sheriff in town, who is very familiar with the problems and the agony and everything that we had to go through on getting these drives to where they are today. Now, my drive on Crown Road is the only drive on Crown that did not get expanded on both sides, just one side. And that's from all the way from 77 Crown all the way down to 95. And you can look at the pictures that I gave you there, you'll see how every drive is expanded except for mine. The average width on those drives that got expanded is 17 feet at the narrowest and 39 feet where it meets up at the road. Now, Now, so what I'm only asking y'all to do is just for mine to be brought up to the same standards as all the other drives. And you say, well, why are you asking that now? Well, I did. I asked the city manager, I asked the city engineer, could you do that? And they said, well, your drive now meets the new parameters when they changed all that. Well, if all these other drives at a different parameter than what my drive is, I want to know why. I think I need an answer why I'm the only drive there that did not get expanded on both sides. And I tell you, it's a problem for me if I drive in from the south to turn into there, because one thing is that ditch, canyon that was dug in my front yard, which I don't understand that. So that's what I'm asking for today. Is, you've got with Squaw Creek coming on and being paved, you got the workforce here to do it. I don't think it's going, if you do approve it, which I hope you do, I understand it's not going to be done tomorrow. It's going to have to, get in the line of the work schedule and all that. But Madam Mayor, when you campaigned that there's a change that needs to be happening here. Well, this is a good time for changes to start. You said you've listened to the people. The people are speaking. They want this done, and it's the right thing to do. How can one person, one line, not be brought up to where everybody else is? So, and as a side note, my neighbor, Ruth Taylor, was promised that her mailbox would be concreted in. That never happened. And she's just waiting for that mailbox to fall into that ditch. And she's at 81 Crown Road. So I'm just asking, just to bring that up to let you know that. So I will gladly await your answer until your executive session is over with, if you bring it up then, because I think I deserve an answer tonight. I don't need to be waited on.
Okay, thank you, Harold. I do have one quick question.
Sure.
What's your width right now?
My width is 15 feet at the narrowest,
15.
and it is 15 feet at the narrowest and 35 where it meets the road. Now, all the others, as I mentioned, there are 17 and 39 as an average. Some are a little bit more, some are a little bit less.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next we have Marcy Galley.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marcy Galley, and I'm at 500 Squaw Creek Road. I wanted to talk tonight about our water usage and the capacity. I lived here when water was a hot button item. And now that we have Fort Worth water coming our way, that's all fine and good. But I just wanted to go over some numbers. I've been trying to catch myself up. So I've watched several meetings online. Love that I can do that. What I heard is that 1.8 MGD is what we need to service current customers, and that was as of July of last year. And it's going to take, I know the development agreement says 1 MGD to service Beldine. I'm sorry, it says 0.78, but I know in talks, you've upped that to 1. We also have 0.8 MGD that is in an agreement with Bosworth Crestview for that easement, okay, for the Fort Worth water line. So just those numbers that I've said brings us to 3.6 MGD. I know that, and I'm assuming this is a take-or-pay agreement. That was a question that I had. It is not a take-or-pay agreement. Okay. Wasn't there a plan to back off of the groundwater supply? Because groundwater is going to go away someday.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure I've heard that in prior meetings. So, having said all of that, 84 newly platted homes were just approved for Phase 2 of the Wilkes-Turs area. We have all the potential new customers along Bankhead Highway once we pay the $5 million to extend the water and sewer lines to Beldine. We have 250 new homes that I know the developer in the Bluffs area, he's wanting to put in a bunch of homes there. And then we have all of our undeveloped ETJ. So there is a lot of potential for water need and water capacity. And I just want to make sure that we're considering all of this when we're talking about bringing on all of this new development. I don't want to go back to the water situation that we found ourselves in 2016, 2017, 18, 19. Okay. So, just wanted to bring that up and also say we are overdue for a comp plan revision. So can we please get that addressed at some point in time? Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Marcy. Next, we have Dixie Smith.
Hello, council, mayor. I have a question. Well, first, the comment. The city approved the Beldine development with property tax investments, including a TERS, a PID, and Chapter 380, granting sales tax incentives. We are also paying $5 million to install water and sewer lines to the property. I'm aware that this land has had a very substantial market value of $19 million over the past several years. And my question is, did the city negotiate as part of the developer agreement to receive the full amount of property taxes on a base value set at $19 million?
I can't answer that question. This is discussion only.
Okay, that's my question, just for the record then. Thank you.
Thank you, Dixie. Okay, next we have Roy Ramos.
Hello, everyone. Comment, and then question. The city passed a $1.5 million tax note a couple of months ago for road upgrades and park restrooms. This tax note will cost taxpayers over $300,000 in interest and issuance fees. I do not support this type of funding instrument unless absolutely necessary due to cash flow problems. So my question is, why didn't the city pull from our reserves for these capital improvements? Aren't tax notes only supposed to be used for to bridge funding gaps and manage cash flow issues? And I know you can't give me an answer on that, but I just wanted that for the record. So thank you.
Thank you, Roy.
We should be able to answer those.
Pat?
You can answer with a short factual response.
So you can use, tax notes are used for a variety of purposes. They're not limited to any sort of specific scope. It's a 7-year note. I'm sorry, I thought somebody was raising their hand. It's a 7-year note, and the interest rate that we finalized on the tax note is actually less than what we have in our market money account at the current time. We're paying less in interest than we're gaining more interest than we're paying in interest.
Thank you, Roy.
Can I make one quick comment on that, too? I do think as we go through our budget workshops over the next few months, one of the final ones, talking about our INS, will have a lot more discussion on what types of debts we issue or may be issuing for future road projects and such. So I think we maybe will ask the city manager to go into more depth on explaining tax notes, certificates of obligation, general obligations, so that we can review a little bit of what we've done in the past and what might be available in the future, and kind of have a workshop about how those debts work. And that might go into more depth for your question, Roy.
Okay, and our last one is KJ Hanna.
KJ Hanna, Willow Park, mayor, council, and neighbors.
Different than KJ?
Let's fit,
Is this the same thing?
yep. But, yep.
We have it.
Okay.
Dixie,
I don't.
I got an extra copy. I think they need.
I do not know.
No, out here.
Oh, no.
Oh, out here. I just gave them theirs.
Here's another.
Here, do you have one?
Leah needs one. Oh, Leah doesn't need one.
I'll take it.
Thank you.
All right, KJ, you're on.
Let's finish what we started. Before the 09 November 2021 council meeting, the citizens of Willow Park had 5 minutes to address the council. And I've attached a request to appear before the city council from the 19th October 2021, and it shows 5 minutes. During the 09-2021, November 2021 council meeting, agenda item 2 read, discussion action to approve a resolution establishing rules for the public participation in city council meetings. Specifically, the number of minutes allowed for the public to speak was reduced from 5 to 3 minutes. A motion was made by Council Young to postpone the item for a future meeting with the following revisions made to Section 3. Time limit, and I quote, time limitations, one 5-minute period, and the council, instead of the mayor, to vote on one 3-minute period for unusually large number of speaker requests. Council Contreras seconded the motion, and the vote to approve the motion was unanimous. However, that motion to return or to keep the citizen comment time to 5 minutes disappeared. It was never put on the agenda or asked that it be put on the agenda item again, not in any of the public documents on city records. In addition, the request to appear before the city council form for 09 November 2021 had already been changed before the vote to 3 minutes speaking time from 5 minutes speaking time. And there it stayed at 3 minutes, unanimously voted down and unexplained, restricting Willow Park citizen comment time for over 3 years. Mayor Palmer and council, how about finishing the job? Either just change the public speaking time from 3 minutes back to 5 minutes, or I'm requesting our elected officials include in the next council agenda, an item to complete the 09 November 2021 council meeting agenda item number 2 to the approved time of, quote, one 5-minute period, and the city council to vote one 3-minute period for an unusually large number of speaker requests. As always, I thank you for your public service.
Thank you, KJ. Okay, now we're going to move on to our regular agenda items. Number 1 is going to be the discussion. That is a discussion, so you can ask questions. The budget work session to discuss enterprise funds for 2025-2026 fund year. Work session to begin now at 6:18.
I didn't know if you just left. I apologize. Okay. This is going to be fun. Council, is it okay if I kind of just walk around? So 'cause I feel like I'm going to be addressing some of the residents as much as I am you guys.
I have no problem with that.
No, no problem.
Make sure you stay in the microphone as much as possible so that people online can hear. Portable mic,
Speak up.
just speak up. You can do that.
Okay. Before we get into the enterprise fund, Leah asked if I kind of just give a budget 101 overview of how the budget's comprised, how it's put together, the different types of funds that we have, and we'll talk generally speaking, no pun intended, about the general fund. We will get into M&O and interest and sinking tax rates. We'll touch on that. But primarily the discussion tonight will focus around the enterprise funds, and I'll explain what the enterprise funds are kind of in this presentation. This is a preliminary budget, meaning it's going to change. In fact, it changed as of 3 hours ago. We were still making changes and revisions to it. So you guys should have the most current and up-to-date version. If you do not have it, we have them over there. If you need a copy, let me know, and I'll get a staff member to come over and give it to you. We updated it at 4 o'clock? Yeah, yep. All right. Can I drive this thing? Yeah, there we go. Okay. Real simple. And by the way, Leah hates this because she knows I'm about to geek out on a bunch of this stuff.
We're going to move you along. Go ahead.
What is a budget? Everybody hears about this. Everybody talks about it. It's a budget, right? Budget's basically what the council is going to, how they prioritize things. So I can say something's important, but if I don't fund it, is it really that important? I'll give you an example. My 15-year-old son wants a new truck. I think he should have a new truck too. But if I don't give him the money or he doesn't earn the money, does he really have a truck? Fair? So it's the council's priorities with allocations for different departments for the upcoming fiscal year. Where does the council want to spend the tax money? We have to adopt the budget before the end of the fiscal year. If we do not adopt a budget before the end of the fiscal year, we have to revert to last year's budget and last year's tax rate or the no new revenue rate, whichever is less. So there is a time crunch. Our fiscal year runs from October 1 through September 30. So that's why we're having these meetings in July. We'll have some more, in June. We'll have some more in July. Hopefully have this thing wrapped up in August. And then we have statutory requirements that the state puts on us. Thank you, Ms. Gallo, state legislature. We'll go to the next one real quick. How's the budget put together? Well, we've tried putting a bunch of numbers in a fish bowl and just pull them out and see what happens. I think they did that before before I got here. Well, before you.
Move along. You're welcome.
So what happens is city staff, we're going to review all the funds that we have, all the line items, and we literally go through them line item by line item by line item. We did the general fund today, which we will discuss in the July 8th meeting. It took 6 hours. We took a 20-minute break for lunch, and then we went through everything line item by line item. We reviewed the expenses of YTD a year to date. Don't get enamored with the year-to-date stuff when you see it in here, because sometimes there's one-time expenditures. For example, we have franchise fees that we're going to get. We get that once a year from Encore. We typically get it in late July, early August. So if you ever see that number and it's really low, it's probably a one-time expense. And I'm glad I got Gene and Marcy here because they can kind of, yeah. The discussions vary from department to department. So the police department budget we spent, what, Chief Lacey, 2 hours on that probably? The Parks Department budget, which is not as robust, did not take quite as long. But we do spend time with the department heads. We do figure out what their priorities are. We try to mesh them with what the council priorities are. And a fun fact, the Texas Constitution requires us to pass a balanced budget, meaning our expenditures cannot exceed our revenues. So we have to be zero or in the black at the end of the day. I was told a long time ago as a city manager, the goal is always zero. You don't want to bring in too much money because you're taxing them too much. You don't want to you can't bring in less because you got to cut some spending here and there. The budget process. So the budget officer, which is appointed by the city, prepares the budget and files it with the city secretary at least 30 days prior to adoption. Right now, and we're going to put this on the budget calendar, our adoption date is somewhere going to be around September the 9th. It has to be at a council meeting. We have to have 4/5 of the council present to adopt the budget. If everything goes as planned, we will have the preliminary budget on the website by July the 9th. We meet on July the 8th. If we can get all the I's and T's mostly dotted and crossed, we will put the preliminary budget up on July 60 days, twice as much time as the state requires. Yes, sir.
Clarification, you not only have to have 4 of 5 present, 4 of 5 have to vote for.
Yes. Yes. Budget workshops, which is what we're doing now. So we're going to go through the budget. Feel free to ask questions as we go along. Yes.
Love the notes.
Yeah, that made it into it. I'll get to that in a second. Kind of jump the shark a little bit, Marcy. So it's this is interactive. Typically, the presentations we're given to the council, I'm trying to include the mayor and the council in this and citizens as well. But this is going to be an interactive function. I've got Michelle Gelker here. If you have a technical question, we can get into that as well. Public access, again, the budgets are made for public inspection. It's going to be on the city website once we adopt it. We will have the first preliminary budget on the website. As we make changes internally, we'll try to update it, but keep in mind, those things change constantly and frequently. As we get closer to adoption, we will get certain hard numbers. For example, Chief Lacey may have a better deal on the Tahoe than he wants to buy, so that number may come down. He may need, his radios may just fail at one point, so now we got to go spend more money on radios. But we will fine tune those numbers and get those things, sharpen the pencil, if you will, towards the end of the budget cycle. Public hearings, this is one I love. The state of Texas likes to play whack-a-mole with the public hearings that we have. It used to be you'd have a public hearing, you'd have to come back a week later and have another public, I'm pretty sure y'all are used to this. Y'all have a public hearing, have to come back a week, have another public hearing, 4 people show up. It's hot as heck at 5:16, the air conditioner's not working, and you're just sitting there. Now, it's a little bit more streamlined. And we'll get into the budget calendar here, but there will be several public hearings for you guys to attend. And finally, the adoption from the city council, it's going to be by ordinance. And so ultimately, this wonderful, wonderful city council up here will adopt the budget. This is our budget calendar. We kind of went through this at the last meeting. Tonight, obviously, we're going to do the enterprise fund. July 8th, we're going to do the general fund. We do have a July 22nd meeting. It's an if necessary. I think we might have a couple of council members out that day, so I'm not anticipating us getting into too many details on that, but I do want to make that available if it's necessary. August 8th is the last day to file the proposed budget with the city secretary. Again, we're going to do that in July. August 22nd, we're going to set the tax rate in the public hearing for the budget. And so, Pat, that's when we vote on the proposed rate, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So they're going to vote on the proposed rate at August 22nd. Rick, welcome back, Rick. We're going to give that notice to Rick Mock. It's going to go in the community news. They're going to charge us a small fortune to run that ad in the paper. Sorry.
Anything for my side.
All that information will come out on September the 9th. We will adopt the budget. In the state's infinite wisdom, you cannot adopt the tax rate and the budget at the same meeting. There has to be a one-day difference between the two. So that's why we will come back on September the 10th and adopt the tax rate, which may be one of the fastest meetings in the history of Willow Park. And that's the proposed budget as we see it. Our fund structure, we have 4 distinct funds. Jake reminded me today, because he got into the weeds on this, it's not 4 distinct funds, there's several different funds, but for purposes of tonight, the general fund, which is supported by maintenance and operation taxes, sales tax, and franchise fees. M&O, I'll get to that here in a second. I know someone's going to probably ask. The enterprise fund, it's user fees, your water bill, your sewer bill, the drainage fee that we put on the water bills. Those things fund the enterprise fund. Okay? The tourism fund through hot taxes, and no, it's not the weather outside. Hotel occupancy tax. When you go to a hotel, whether it's here or anywhere else, if the rate's $100, but you got charged $125, and you look at your receipt, it says local taxes and so on and so forth, that's called a hot tax, and it goes to fund certain activities. There's like 9 things, is that correct, Pat?
Yes.
There's not, it's a measured test that you can just get those funds on. I think if someone who may have an ear of the legislature that's sitting in the room, I don't know anybody at that age right now.
Move along. He's trying.
It would be very nice, and I'll get to, we did the general fund on July the 8th. It would be very nice if hot taxes could be used to offset things like public safety, streets, things of that. Of course, the debt fund, that's your interest in sinking taxes. That's all the debt that we have in the city, and that's supported by taxes. I got it. Okay, general fund, what's it pay for? Police, parks, streets. Municipal courts in there. There's about 10 different departments that are in the general fund.
Everything but water,
Everything but water, wastewater?
Drainage.
Yes, correct. So, we also, you get your taxes, sales tax is another important thing. We actually bring in more sales tax than we do property taxes, which is an interesting little tidbit. And I'll talk about how sales tax offsets property taxes at the July 8th meeting. Because Ms. Palmer is going to move on.
She is.
You know what? I love this stuff.
I know. That's why we're helping you. Help me help you. Right?
You didn't have a purpose thing or not?
Oh, I think it was.
Most of the departments in the general fund do not generate revenue. So the police department does not generate revenue. The tickets don't go toward the police department, and they don't even generate enough revenue off the tickets to pay for anything, actually. So, police department, street repair, parks, those things require your taxes to be supported and funded, and so that's what this is for. M&O, interest in sinking taxes. This is a good one. Again, we talk about how it funds the police department, parks, and streets. Your total tax rate, which is right now around 42 cents and change. Your total tax rate's got two parts to it. One is M&O, the second is interest in sinking. M&O pays for the general fund. It pays for the parks, the police, and everything else. The interest in sinking, and none of the stuff is in the handout, we're gonna get to that July 8th. And if y'all wanna talk about it, I can talk to you till Gene has his ponytail.
Right.
Interest in sinking pays the debt. And so those are two things that your tax rates goes to. That your total tax rate pays for. We'll talk about how these things are calculated, how these things are funded. Fun fact, here's a preview for July the 8th. I'm gonna ask you a question. Do we bring, and you can't answer because you know it already. True or false? We bring in more property taxes than it requires to cover police salaries.
More property taxes.
And the green shirt has the answer. We do not. We do not generate enough property taxes to pay the salaries for the police department. So when we talk about sales tax, when we talk about the importance of sales tax, it goes, you are migrating from a property tax dependent to a sales tax dependent community, which is a good place to be, by the way, which is a great place to be. Believe it or not, you're actually tracking ahead of the state of Texas on your sales tax. And I'll get into that July 8th. Although Mayor Palmer may want me to do it July 22nd, I don't know. All right, the enterprise funds, here we are. So it's water, as KJ aptly mentioned, it's water, wastewater, drainage. Why is it called enterprise fund? If you look at our audit, it's called business-like functions of the government. So a water system, a sewer system, a drainage system will generate enough fees to cover the expenses for the operations of those services.
But not the debt.
Yes, the debt's included in it too.
Okay, so when you say INS, that INS is for
Taxes. We'll get INS.
Things like roads that aren't under an enterprise. If it's debt in an enterprise, it's
They're
in.
totally self-sufficient, the
Yes.
enterprise fund.
Yes.
Okay.
This is actually called, if you listen to Eric Maha, if you go back to some of our presentations, This is what we call self-supported debt. If it's self-supported, it's through user fees.
Would you explain drainage?
Drainage, yes, sir, it's where water goes down.
Okay. Other than that,
That was easy.
because we haven't always had a drainage fee until the last
Yes.
3 or 4 years or whatever it started.
That's
So
right.
what brought that on?
How many people live on Sand Bass Road?
What's right that on?
Anybody live on Sand Bass Road? I'm getting that. Okay. We had a number of drainage projects when I first got here. We had one on Ranch House Road where it flooded into, and I don't know what neighborhood it is, just to the west of it, you know, where we made that curve, put that big culvert in. You know what we're talking about?
I don't know the neighborhood, but yes.
Yeah. Lloyd Dell lives over there. So we didn't have a fund to pay for that. So that was about $350,000. Meadows Place, there's again another drainage project that had to come in. That was about $250,000. Drainage projects are not cheap. They are incredibly expensive and you had no funds. And so what you were doing is you were drawing down your reserves to pay for these projects. The straw that broke the camel's back on that was Sand Bass Road. And if you've gone down Sand Bass Road prior to us doing the drainage projects, there was one house that it rained just a little bit. The water, you know, address I'm talking about? I'm not off the top of my head. I know this house. It's across from the church, what used to be the church, like 3 doors down to the west. And it would go underwater. And most of Sand Bass Road, Leah could tell you this because she'd drive out all the time. We decided that we had other parts of the city that were just like this. So we developed a drainage fee to help pay and offset those drainage expenses.
Who's responsible for the original drainage for these swim
So originally, it was the property owners. I mean, if you want to get to the beginning of the community, it was the property owners.
and the developers?
Well, you didn't have much development standards for the longest time.
Do we have those now so we're not having phases to usually?
Yes. Yes, you had development standards. When they put in, when Mr. Wilkes put in, the shops and the housing behind there, there's drainage, you can see the drainage ditches and the culverts and everything else. If you want to see it in action right now, you can go across the street over to Country Hollow. They're putting the drainage in, and also doing the other things. We had culverts that were crushed on private property, and it would back up onto somebody else's property. And at some point, Leah, did we do this in 20 or 21?
Yes, one of them somewhere in the past.
We made drainage a utility, a public utility, and we charged a fee for it. And most of that fee is paid for by commercial and not necessarily residential. It's based off of impervious surfaces.
Yeah, right.
Sir?
I haven't thought about this until you said that. We have impact fees for water and wastewater. Do we have an impact fee for drainage? Okay.
This is development, which is called impact fees. They are limiting what we can do with impact fees, and I think if the legislature has their way, we won't be able to collect impact fees 6 to 10 years from now. Which is unfortunate. Okay. How about doing, Madam Mayor?
Move along, we're good.
We are.
Got a lot to go.
Ma'am?
You have a lot to go.
We only done 20 minutes. We got plenty of time, really.
No, we don't. No, we don't. 7 o'clock, you got 20 minutes.
Water, okay, so we're gonna go through the enterprise funds like I talked about earlier. I apologize for that font. We're trying to get all the information on there. That is the same thing as you have in your handout. Does anybody need a handout? Anybody at all? Okay. All right. We're doing water, yes ma'am. You're going to see a common theme. You're going to see personnel, so you're going to see revenues up top. And you'll see personnel costs, which is salaries, insurance, cell phone stipends, whatever. You're going to see basically a supply budget, utility budget, and contractual services, and then we'll get into the debts. The basic premise of this budget and any other budget is going to be this: you're going to hire people, you're going to provide them with benefits, you're going to supply them with the equipment and tools necessary to complete their job, you're going to pay for the utilities for their things, electricity to run the power plant. You're going to have some debt associated with this. In the next 2 funds, actually the next 3 funds, you're going to have debt associated with these things as well. When you get past all that, you don't have a whole lot of discretionary spending. And I'll show you a real live example of that at the end of the water presentation. All right, so I can do this line item by line item, Madam Mayor, if you want to, but we need to call Railhead.
We're not going to Railhead. Go ahead.
It's Tuesday night, they got a thing.
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Under personnel salaries, how many full-time equivalents is that?
That is 11 FTEs and then 3 half salaries.
So that's 11, what, 11 and a half, 15 full-time equivalents. So that, what did I just say, 13?
Yes. That's
13, and they're just for water?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I have a salary spreadsheet that's on the back of this. Everybody want to get to that?
Really?
Yes. And then, so now we have my notes that Marcy likes to do. So when you talk about salaries, this include the CM, comms, and FD. CM is me, comms is the communications director, FD is the finance director. We split those functions between those three employees between the 2 funds, general and enterprise. We spend roughly 50% of our time doing each fund. So last week I spent most of my time in the enterprise fund preparing this. Today I spent most of my time doing the general fund preparing the general fund budget. Rose is the comms director. She does as much communications for turning off water, we got a water outage or whatever, as she does PD. So we split those 2 functions. Same thing with Andy, the finance director. She does 50/50. You got a problem?
Batter's got your mic.
All right.
You broke it. Broke it.
That's how long you went.
Right? You wore it out.
You wore the battery out.
Jiminy Cricket. Faster. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you. So not to get anything going, so we all do negotiate insurance costs, health insurance for employees. We pay 100% of the health of the employee insurance. So, and we just got a re-rate of 14%. We're going to go with that rate rather than go out to the market. We think we've been advised that we probably don't want to go out to the market for that. So 14% is what we put our health insurance cost at. So when you see those things, I've got a split to the side, kind of tells you exactly where the insurance costs are going to go up. So you're about 10% up on personnel. You are roughly flat on supplies. What was the note you were laughing at?
No, I appreciate the notes.
Oh.
Because I don't have questions anymore.
Well, I was going to say, one of my questions previously, I think you adjusted it sometime during the day, for the user charges for water.
Yes.
It went from same as last year to increase, which my question was, we do think we're going to have more water taps, so.
Yes.
So that's reflective of what we think we'll be adding as far as users?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. perfect.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
Unemployment insurance isn't that driven pretty much by the number of layoffs you've experienced?
It's driven by a number of factors. Workforce Commission more or less says that.
85% increase. Okay.
Well,
Look weird.
yeah. Which one are you looking at, Gene?
Water, personnel.
Yeah, you went from 810 to 1500. We're at 1400 right now. So that's where this is where the preliminary comes in. We'll drill down into that a little bit more. Let's see here. Okay, contractual services, travel, that's going to train the guys. We do a lot of Zoom. In fact, does the wastewater treatment plant have the ability to, do we cut the conference room out of that, or do we keep the conference room? Okay. At one point, we were going to, we had a conference room at the wastewater treatment facility where we could do Zoom and training. We now have this wonderful conference room here, so they come up and. We try to do as much Zoom as we can. Wow, that did work. I'm going to go ahead and hit the big hammer. When you see our legal fees, that's not Pat Chesser deciding that he's trying to retire on our dime. I don't like Pat being behind that column. Those are our anticipated costs for the half lawsuit. The half lawsuit's a public document, so I don't really want to, that's not what we're here to discuss. But we are incurring some legal fees for that. But I feel encouraged by that lawsuit. All right. Pretty much the same SOP. You're kind of sort of flat there. Transfers and restricted funds. All right. Let's get into it. This is your debt. Primarily your debt for water. This is not supported by taxes. This is supported by your user fee. And so the 2010 refunding, we've paid that off. So some of these debts we've already paid off. We just haven't eliminated the line item from Encode. Encode gets very cranky if you try to eliminate a line item. They want to keep it there for 5 years so you have an issue. So we got $66,000 for the debt for the 2024 CO.
Ma'am? Can we have like names for that? What's that for?
Okay, well, they're for several different things. That's for Bell.
Okay, that's, I look
Yeah.
Bell.
The 2014, I have no idea what that one's for. Water line replacement, I'm assuming, Chase?
Yes, I believe so.
2016 is probably some water line replacement as well.
Does that make sense, KJ, what he's going through?
Yes, it's just, it would be nice if he put it in notes so that,
Yeah.
so that we know what, I mean, he had to ask.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to know what it is we're paying.
Which,
Yeah.
which debt, like previous
Yeah, exactly.
councils, previous years was
Especially
approved?
when you
Okay.
come to the general fund, I mean, it's nice to know that on one of the roads, I think it was 550 million, excuse me, 5.5 million, not 5.5 million and a half a million of that was for parks. So it'd be nice to know 5 million street, half a million parks.
Understood.
I will take care of that. 2019 TWDB is $509,000. I want to get to that here in a second, so y'all just put a pin in that number real quick. The 2015 COB, again, that's previous council. Your 21 debt service 336, put a pin in that one for about 2 seconds. I'll get back to it. And the GovCap 82,373, that will be paid off this year. Jake and I had a discussion. We may actually pay that off now and then not move it onto our debt for next year. It's just
Funds out of the water fund.
Yes, ma'am.
Excess.
we have extra. Yes, we have plenty of reserves in the water fund. So the 509 and the 509-108 and the 336-250, those two amounts, the 2019 and the 2021. The 509,000 is what the Fort Worth water, both those is how much Fort Worth water the project cost you, not the actual purchase of water, but just the project of those two things. We have an agreement with Hudson Oaks. If you go back to the first page of this, it will tell you, you will see transfers in, and this is why I didn't do this in the first place. You will see transfers in. Group 40, transfers. You're going to see those two debts corresponding on your debt later on the spreadsheet. Fort Worth is going to provide $405,000, or not, excuse me, I keep saying Fort Worth. Hudson Oaks is going to provide $405,000 to cover those two debt expenses to us. Our agreement with them is we pay 52% of the debt, they pay 48%. We get 52% of the water, they get 48% of the water. And so those revenues offset those two debts. But the very cool thing about this, and the thing that I love, and I'm sorry, you're going to have to indulge me for about 20 seconds.
Timer? Is that the timer?
So one of those debts is 13.7, the other one's roughly 6 million. Why do we have two debts? Well, this is why we're suing half. They messed up on their cost estimate by about $6 million. And so we're trying to regain the interest. This is all public record, right?
Yes, I know it's.
Who? Half. We're not actually suing for the actual physical, and it's all that pump station right over here, that brand new facility. We're not actually suing for the bricks and mortar of that. Thought process is, if it was 20 million, we would have done 20 million anyway. Thought process is, their mistake cost us roughly 2 million in interest that we're going to pay out over 30 years. That's why we're litigating that. That's why our attorney's fees are kind of high. We brought outside counsel, probably some of the very best, definitely in the Metroplex, I would argue, in the state of Texas. The reason we're doing this is that the higher interest rate on the 336,000, that interest rate's at 3%. That's the high interest rate. The 509,000, anybody want to guess? And if you know the answer, you can't say it, KJ. KJ's my next door neighbor. She's tired of me saying this number. We are financing $13.7 million for 30 years at 0.75%. That's why we're suing half, because the half note's just under 3, the 2 change. That's why we're suing. If they'd got their numbers correct, we would be paying a lot less in interest. And so that's why we're litigating. But the thing that I'm most proud of that this council did, is you weren't here, she was here, he was here, you were coming on, and Greg was for sure. We went to Water Development Board when no one else wanted to, and it's a butt. I mean, it is. I'd rather have root canal from a doctor named Cook than with no anesthesia than Water Development Board. But the juice was absolutely worth the squeeze. Our notes, Jake gave me this number. He thought y'all might like this. Total debt for this year is $509,000. Keep in mind, we're about 5 years into this payment. So typically you're paying more in interest than you are in principal. Of the $509,000, $435,000 of it is going towards principal. $75,000 is going towards interest. And this is at the beginning of our debt. That's why I love that deal. I wish I could finance a street at 0.72.
Do I need to move him on?
Are they being recovered also, or are we eating into our 2 minutes?
We're gonna, we can't get into that right now.
Oh, got it. Good question.
Good question. We'll have an answer for you in the relatively soon category. All right, capital outlay. So here's real world map. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. So, because, let me ask, do we ever actually transfer franchise
No,
fees
ma'am.
to the general fund? Can we delete that then?
Me and Jake had that discussion today. Yes.
Okay,
It's just it's into and out of. It's a push through.
okay.
And me and Jake had that discussion today.
Because the way
Mhm.
you spread the salaries is already going to the specific fund.
Yes, that comes up every year during budgeting, and it's one of those
Yeah.
discussions that we have where we go, hey, it'd be really nice.
It's still there.
And then it's like, we get into the other 30 pages of the budget, and by the time we get back to it, it's like, oh, yeah, oh.
Well, essentially, on that, Marcy's just stealing all of my questions tonight.
I'm actually supposed to be presenting to my boss.
That's okay. No, so the idea is, we have not had to transfer anything this year. While it was budgeted last year for transfer from
Yeah.
wastewater to water, we have not.
Yeah, she's talking about the franchise fees.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to the, we went down to capital outlay, and I'm going
Yes.
right above that, so,
Yes, I'm sorry, Leah, I apologize.
that's okay, no.
I apologize.
I'm totally open, the idea that, that transfer hasn't been needed this year.
We removed
So
it.
potentially, we don't need it.
Well, we were, that was one of the updates we made today.
Right, perfect.
So, brief history. We have almost twice as many water customers as we do sewer customers. Anybody, and I've got a water, a wastewater sitting right over here, there's only 50 of her in the state. Michelle Go. Best Public Works, ACM, you're going to find. You can smile, it's been a long day, but you can smile. Sewer costs twice as much as water. Any sewer project you want is going to cost twice as much as water. It's more of a contamination issue than it is. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Sewer's real stinky. Water's not. But we have twice as many water customers as we do sewer customers. So when I first got here in 18, we were transferring $600,000 out of the water fund to help support the sewer fund. And Councilman Young came to me and said, I would like to end that practice. So we got aggressive and we went from 600, 400, 200 to 100, and we haven't had to transfer the money in probably 3 years.
No, we did transfer 200 last year.
Last year.
Right.
Oops.
With the intent to
Yeah.
do it this year.
Correct. Thank you. Yes.
Is there any plan to ever have the wastewater system pay back the water system?
So that was brought up by the auditors back in 21, and the auditors said either pay it or do away with it. And so we did away with it by ordinance.
So, no.
Yes.
Council took action then, I think.
Yes.
So we sent a
Yeah, that was.
thank you note to all the people in the water system who paid that.
All right, moving on to, so here's how this is, if you want to know this is preliminary, there's a vac truck in here that we have budgeted for next year for $365,000. We have an agenda item coming up to purchase said vac truck for $365,000. If council approves that, tomorrow we will remove that from the capital expenditures.
Is there current funds to,
Yes.
is that paid in full or financed?
No, it'll be paid for. We'll get into that at the, Chase will explain it to you.
Yeah,
It's
we
an
have a
agenda item.
Whole agenda item to,
Yeah.
To get to.
yeah.
TikTok.
You're never going to let me do this again. are you?
Nope.
All right, speed talk. Wastewater, it's the same stuff. We have 2 employees that do wastewater. They're really good guys. They stink a lot.
Nice.
I have a joke, but we're just going to move on with that.
Yes, please.
Okay. Same stuff. You're pretty much flat on personnel. You're flat all across the board on wastewater. The key thing to know about wastewater, and I'll answer any of the line items you got. The key thing to remember on wastewater is that your total budget for wastewater is $1.828 million, but your debts are $1.25 million. Again, our interest rates are very low, so we have financed a lot of these projects, namely the brand new wastewater treatment plant. We have about $268,000 in what's called the package plant, which I know Gene voted on it. Were you here when they did that too? We have a package plant that's helped us out, got us through so we could prepare to get the new plant online. should be online sometime this fall. We have an agreement, and this is not reflected in the budget. We have an agreement with the city of Hudson Oaks. Again, they like to partner with us. They're going to pay a certain amount of upfront to connect to our system, to connect to our plant. Right now, it's $4 million. There's negotiations to get that up to $5 million. And then they're going to pay anywhere from 20 to 25% of our operations for the plant. In exchange, they're going to get capacity.
And we have enough capacity to cover Hudson Oaks and the growth land for Willow Park?
Yes.
What did we get approved
Hey,
for?
Brian, also make sure we add that we can expand that
The plant.
for future growth.
Yes.
In the footprint that it's at. So we don't have to go somewhere else. We
Yeah.
wanted to make sure we could expand at several different levels.
You're at 1 MGD,
Great plan.
and then you can expand it to 2 MGD if needed.
So we're actually approved
Yep,
for
same time.
one?
Sir?
We're currently approved for one?
Yes. Hudson Oaks came to us and said, we'd like to have more capacity, please. And I said, I'd like to have more money, please. We have not taken that to council for adoption yet. Those are still in the negotiations we're still having with Hudson Oaks. But that's not reflected in this budget, but I just thought I'd let you guys know. Again, your interest rates, none of your enterprise funds you're paying, I think you're paying no more than 3% on any of these debts. There may be one that's like a 3.5%. But you're not paying any more than 3%. To give you an idea, to answer Mr. Ramos's question, we have a money market called Techstar, where everybody kind of, every city just got to put some money in there. Right now, today, we're earning 4.3% in our money market fund. So when you see interest income, interest revenue, that's what we have in there. We're earning it. We've earned so much money on the water treatment plant that we may be able to pay for half the interest off of it.
This is a question on the charge fees that we have to cover when customers pay with a credit card.
Yes.
Do we offset that by
Yes.
charging them for those?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
great. So that was a very high number.
Yes, ma'am. A lot of people are using credit cards, and we get billed 3%.
Right.
And we used to eat it like every other business would eat it. And then when you start looking at the line item, I know for one of the funds I looked at today, it was $100,000. That's a lot of scratch. I'm moving on, Madam Mayor. I apologize.
Thank you.
We're coming home. Drainage. So this is the famous drainage fee.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You took off, you said you were going to do salaries and
It's the-
breakdown, and then you went on to
Yes, ma'am.
two other categories.
It's the last page.
Last page. Gotcha. Drainage.
Yes,
Gotcha.
ma'am. Drainage is in here. We're going to generate roughly 432,000. I don't know what the exact number is, but you can almost set your wallet to it, that every month we're going to get, I think it's like 16,000, they'll pull me to it. It's a number we can always count on to come in. We have one debt, or one liability on this is $367,000. That's a debt obligation that we have in 2022. That's one of those bonds that you talked about. We kind of offset, did some drainage projects, St. Bass Road being one of them. What this also does is that if you have a damaged culvert, or if you have capital improvements that need to be done throughout the city, we now have the funding for this, rather than going in and pulling it out of reserves.
Is there any plans, I know that you talked about, repairing damaged culverts and things like that, but also on some of the roads, there's, years of sedimentation in the ditches, and that, when we get these torrential rains, like on Fox Hunt, the road floods. So I didn't know if there's plans to go in, because I know from my previous experience outside of Willow Park, on a periodic basis, they go through and just, clean up.
Clean out the bar ditches?
Yeah.
Yes, we can do that. We have a piece of equipment that you can use to kind of go in and do it. If it's a continual and habitual issue, then we may address it in other ways. Cleaning out the bar ditch is good. It's kind of a Band-Aid. And I kind of like to fix problems and not just slap a Band-Aid on it, and hope it stops bleeding.
So that's often included in the street projects, right?
Yes.
Like on Crown and, well, everything that you've
Yes.
done so far, especially the concrete. The drainage ditches are part of the street reconstruction or construction.
Yes, ma'am. And then so the drainage fund will help offset some of those costs.
Right, exactly.
Right, both funds get to pay for the whole project, so.
Right, exactly.
Is the drainage fund paying for people to come and take care of the ditches that aren't paved on Crown?
The ditches, the maintenance on
Some
the
of the
ditches?
ditches are in Crown.
You talking about the mowing?
Mowing.
Yes.
No, sir, that's paid out of that's paid out of a different fund. It's paid out of the general fund. This is what we call city services. And I'll talk about that at the July 8th meeting if the mayor will let me do this again.
That's right. We'll see. 7:05, go ahead.
Last question, last slide that I have is city salaries. So to answer KJ's point, you have 11 FTEs and 3.5. No. Drainage has no employees. No. So when Chase goes out there, it's just kind of built to the water program, kind of one of those deals.
You have 13 and a half plus 2.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have a total of 15 full-time equivalents in the enterprise funds.
Yes, ma'am.
And your salaries are not in your packet. You just want us to see that, right?
No, they're in there.
They are?
Yeah. It's the last page.
Her project's different. Hers is pretty.
Yeah, hers is different. I quit the hat. I got my glasses on.
Again,
Oh, shit, Greg's.
they wanted a lot of information, so we tried to put as much information.
Yeah, I was asking for some details.
Yes, ma'am.
that-
I didn't want to,
That's helpful to kind of figure that out, yes.
yep.
Any questions on those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
does the assistant city manager do with a city of this size? How many cities of this size with the employees that they have, with 13 or 15, have an assistant city manager?
So one of them is, I have two actually. I have Michelle Gelker and Tony Fisher. Michelle Gelker handles public works, finance, operations. Tony handles development primarily and other functions that we need.
But you have a development manager also,
We have a planning director.
planning director.
Yes.
So what's the difference between the two?
So she's going to she will run and manage the planning director. She also manages the fire guys, permits. She communicates with the very businesses who want to come in and have development projects done.
So, but if it's difficult for a city of this size to have an employee making $100,000,
Yes.
so if I was to go to Hudson Oaks, if I was going to Toledo, if I was going to any other smaller towns, right, they would have the same thing at the same price.
Yes.
Same salary.
Yes.
It's like a lot of redundancy in employees.
So you could go to Hudson Oaks, Sterling's paying $125.
This makes a difference.
No,
It's the job. It seems like there's a lot of redundancy in that job. There's more than one person doing the same job.
No, sir.
Well, I guess I didn't understand their duties.
Isn't it true to say that we had one assistant city manager?
Yes.
And now we have
Two.
half assistant managers?
You had one city manager in Bill Funderburk. Bill retired. And then we promoted 2 department heads up to ACM. They do department head functions. They also do management functions as well.
So it's like 2 halves instead of 1 whole.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I will say, to that point of will it look like other cities, the way smaller cities structure is vastly different everywhere. So you can have an assistant to the city manager that is not, a department head level. It's more of but one of the things that you have to look at, and especially when you look at the line items that we've looked at over the past years, is how much contract they have. A lot of the other cities may be paying a lot of contractors to come in, and you don't have in-house people working. which typically can be a lot more costly depending on how you work it. So when you look at Hudson Oaks and some of those others, it never matches perfectly because they may say it's better for me to pay a firm to come in and do all of this work because we have it in a different way, whereas we have very much structured to a large staff to handle it in-house to make it a little more actually cost-effective. So.
Which the other, I'm sorry, KJ, let me just real quick. The downside to having contractual work is if you need them there right now, they might be on another job and they might not be able to come for a day or two. So if it's a water line break, something like that, our folks are here and we get it done quickly. So that's the good thing about having a fully staffed city.
Plus, it all depends on your predictions of growth. I don't think Hudson Oaks is planning anywhere near the growth that Marcy brought up. I mean, we're going to grow enormously.
Exponentially.
Exactly, exponentially. And we haven't even considered, one of the things is the ETJ, either Parker County or Willow Park, in between Dean and Willow Park. Once we run that $5 million water and water sewer line out there, there's going to be a whole lot of people in between that say, me too, me too. I want to be in Willow Park, I want to, so our potential for growth is much larger than I'd even say, well, maybe not Aledo since they got that Dean Ranch on the east side, but, I mean.
So Hudson Oaks will never add a subdivision. Ever.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't make financial sense for them to do it. They don't have property tax. So when you add 97 homes or 100 homes or whatever, that's a liability on their balance sheet. They don't have the property taxes to support it. They have to get commercial. So they need to get Jerry to sell more full changes, Walmart to sell more Fruit Loops, stuff like that. So they'll never grow. So they're going to have less staff. Aledo, and I have a council member from Aledo in here, so I'm going to be very careful about how I phrase this.
He's listening.
Pass.
Can't hear a thing, can you?
They made a decision, right or wrong, to contract most of their services out, with the end result being, Chase, how many water leaks did you go fix in Aledo before we told them no? 3. Yes. 3.
3?
Yes.
We're not charging for that?
We did.
Oh, we did. Okay. Just want to verify that.
We did.
Say,
Yes, Leah.
well, I was going to say, we are covering enterprise funds. I think we've had some good questions come up that might be more general fund
Yes, ma'am.
related, that we
Yes,
might
ma'am.
be able to continue this discussion next time, but.
July 8th.
Yeah, one quick question. So Group 50, the very first technical personnel salary, that 854,000?
Yeah.
That is 11 FTEs?
Yes.
Okay. So quick question, when I go to this page, with the 11 FTEs, the 11 is the middle group. That, I assume all these, this is just a snapshot of an Excel spreadsheet?
Yes.
Okay. So are all these cells are formulated?
Should be, yes.
So those also, those 11 in the middle group, total out to 635,000.
In the middle group, yes.
So those 11 FTEs, that's 635,000, you have this.
I'll take your word for it, yes.
854,000, that's about $200,000 discrepancy. That's been one thing between this public works director. Comes out with even 80,000. That's at $79,996.80. So some of these are rounded to the 10th, and some of them are not. Could you kind of enumerate how they kind of got there?
How did we calculate salaries for public works?
So
Hourly.
on Chase's, which is the one that he's been asking about, when we bumped him up to public director of public works last year, we did a straight 80 on him.
So that's why the math
Yeah.
doesn't math.
On the other, when you're asking about the difference between this 8 and the 6, is because there's those 3 half of
3 half salaries in there.
There are 3 employees that
Director,
half
city-
go to general fund and half go to water, so it's, you know,
So
not.
do y'all use this spreadsheet internally?
The salary spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, are you almost done?
If there's no more questions.
Any more questions?
I just have one more for, my educational purpose, and that is reserves. So we've got a budget, and we know that stuff happens, right? So, what are the reserve levels in each of these funds?
You have at least 90-day reserves in each fund. And those reserve levels will fluctuate depending on the time of the year. For example, your general fund may have a lot more reserves in it in, say, March, after all your property taxes come in. Your wastewater fund may have more funds in it in, say, September, October, because this is watering season. Everybody's about to start turning the sprinklers. The reserve funds are not in there.
Not in the budget.
That's not in the budget. We can put it in the budget, but it's not in this workshop.
That's more in our, quarterly reports is where we would see what's in reserves.
I'll bring Jake's quarterly report over to you. To answer Marcy's question about water, so 1.8 is the peak. That was the max. We generate 1.5 off wells. Does that sound about right, Chase? And then we get 3.5 little. Well,
We did the rehab project.
We rehabbed them. We rehabbed them. And so we'll get about 3.5, more or less, off of Fort Worth, maybe a little more, 362, I think is the number. So we're going to bring in about 5 million a day.
But we're already on the hook for, what I said, 3.6.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
although I don't know.
That's,
Is it
that's built
without-
out with Bell fully developed and the other pieces.
I'll skip
But
ahead to
we
10.
have
That's one of my
many years
requests.
to look for,
but we can't keep over.
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That actually was one of my requests, Marcy, is that we have a presentation of the water capacity, and I'm telling you, you've
Right, I'm sorry,
could have
Leah.
stayed in Colorado.
And Daryl, did you finish?
I was just one more question. Does Willow Park have a capital improvement plan? And if so, is that represented in this budget?
So we have capital expenditures. We have a CIP plan that needs to be updated. We have had I've had some discussion with the Mayor Pro Tem about doing what I call a council retreat to kind of prioritize what we want to do over the next 5 years.
But to also answer that, I think, updated our CIP a couple of years ago. We will be discussing our pavement study and our roads, and that's other water and wastewater is part of the CIP here, but the roads specifically will be part of one of the next budget workshops. So that will be a big part of where we're getting more information on those potential capital expenditures.
So you have to come back.
This was the short one. The next one will be longer.
No. Mm-mm. Okay, move along. So, number 2, approval of regular city council meeting minutes for May 13th and June 10th. So do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to approve the city council meeting minutes for May 13th and June 10th.
And second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Silence, all right. We have a vote. All in favor? Okay, done. On to 3, the discussion action authorize staff to purchase a hydrovac truck for public works. Here he comes.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens. Well, as Brian touched on earlier, yes, I am requesting permission to purchase a hydrovac truck and also a jetter. This is a dual compact unit, and our vac trailer that we have now, the motor blew. It was 11 years old. We got a lot of life out of it, and it's an estimated $40,000 to $50,000 price tag to fix if they can fix it. It's a discontinued model. They don't even make the motor, so it's not going to happen. So that will be basically sent to auction upon approval at another meeting. So as you can see, it's, like I said, it's a dual unit, so helps us, it fixes leaks a lot better, more streamlined. And this is a larger unit, so it'll cut down on time. And it also has a jetter for sewer maintenance programs that we have been trying to implement. We do have a jetter trailer now, but we have to fix something on it because it's 18 years old every time we fire it up.
So, for us lay people, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the description, help me if that's correct, is when you have a leak, which y'all have a lot of leaks going on, you're fixing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Constant. So the description I got was that this truck sucks out the water, debris, whatever's in there, so you can actually see the leak and fix the leak. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
There you go.
It's basically
That
a
helps.
ginormous shop vac
Okay.
truck chassis. And it, I mean, honestly,
That's right.
it helps us dig up utility lines safely because we had a 12-inch water main a couple weeks ago and it was less than 2 feet from a live gas main.
Oof.
And it took us several hours to dig around that gas main to not cause any problems. And this will just streamline that a lot.
How many hours did you spend on that leak?
From total 11 between showing up, fixing it, and cleaning up, and all of that.
Okay.
And we lost a lot of water.
That's a big deal.
That will be fixed once we do the roads. Because we're doing the
Not necessarily.
water lines.
Well, that's Squaw Creek.
That's Squaw,
There's
yeah.
a lot of
Only one.
other water lines throughout the whole
No,
city.
but
So,
sooner or later, when we get all the roads fixed,
all the water lines replaced, yes.
all the
Hey,
water lines.
Chase?
I think we'll
Yes, sir.
use the vac truck in between.
Yeah. Can you describe what a high-pressure jetter is? I know what it is, but.
What it is the truck has a hose reel on the front, and it basically they have specialty nozzles that are designed to cut through roots, concrete, anything you can imagine. But it's basically a hose reel with a nozzle that shoots 3,000 PSI water, and it travels down a sewer main and cleans everything off the side. So grease buildup. Basically.
Flexible, yeah.
But, and it's self-propelling, and it goes down, you pull it back, and it completely cleans everything out.
And flushed wet wipes balls?
Oh, yes.
Thank you,
The amount
Eric.
of times I've seen mop heads,
Yeah.
underwear.
Oh, okay.
I mean.
Moving on.
My
Wow.
apologies.
We need it.
Yeah.
Brian?
Ma'am.
The financing side of this.
Yes, ma'am.
The source of funding.
Yes, ma'am.
Talk a little bit about the reserve fund.
Yes, so Jake and I, we have, I don't know, over 2 million in reserves in the water fund. Yes. So this would be 365,000, so Jake said we can handle it.
Okay.
Any more,
That it?
any more questions?
How quickly what's the life expectancy of the truck?
You can get 20 years out of these things long term. We do. Well, this new one will probably have some sort of service that comes with that. I honestly don't know that. We haven't gotten to that point yet. So we have not discussed those. I could probably have it by the end of next week if they have one on guard. I've already actually had the company come out and bring in kind of a small demo on it, so it is available as soon as approval. No, ma'am. But if you would like that, when we'll have probably a 2-day.
So you're pretty excited about this?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It'll make life a lot easier.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what we're looking for. Okay, so do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a hydro vac truck from Kinlock Equipment in the amount of $365,101.01.
I'll second.
Well, don't forget the cent. Thank you, Sean. Okay, any more discussion? Nope. Okay, so let's vote on it. All right, there you go. Done deal. All right, so we have a new vac truck. Woo-hoo, pretty exciting. Okay. Yeah, he's excited. Okay. Woo! So number 4, discussion action, authorize staff to execute engagement letter with Snow Garrett for auditing services.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Snow Garrett's been doing our audits the last 3 years. We've had a good relationship with them. They'd like for an engagement letter. Upon approval of this motion, they'll come out in August and start preparing for next year's financial audit.
Okay. So do we have a motion on that?
Real quick.
Yes?
They're local versus some of the other ones we've had, which
Yes.
are not local, and they might have travel issues getting here. So
Yes.
this one we can call up and they can.
They're in Weatherford.
I was going to say they're in Weatherford?
Yes.
Yes.
They're not in Ames, Iowa.
Or Minnesota.
Or Minnesota.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
That's the other
Crazy.
one. Blizzard and.
Okay. Any other discussion? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that council authorize the mayor and staff to execute the engagement letter with Snow, Garrett, and Williams as presented.
Second.
Second. Okay. Any more discussion? Let's do a vote. There you go. Okay, so number 5, the city council may consider, discuss, or act on approving an application form for residents of Willow Park to express interest in serving on the Home Rule Charter Commission and authorize staff to post the application form on the city's website and issue a press release to the community news regarding the application. So there were some attachments. So one was taken off. Yes.
Gene wanted to speak.
Gene wants to,
Public comment, yeah.
Public comment. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
ow. Okay. So Gene, you're on number 5. Go for it.
I'm Gene Martin, 700 Kingsgate Road, moved in there in November 1987. I saw on the posted packet that it looks like what you're going to discuss is the kind of generic volunteer form, and seemed to me that this is kind of a short turnaround, specific use kind of thing, and it probably ought to have a form that is designed just for the purpose of soliciting participants in a home rule charter committee.
And we did update that, right, Dina? It specifically says home rule
Yes.
on our application.
We'll have a new application put together.
Okay. So Dina's doing that.
Where's that?
Yes. Yeah. That's a new one that we have.
It was updated and posted today.
Today.
Differently.
Oh, I guess
So-
I didn't see that. Can I-
Yes.
Is there a copy I could look at?
Passing it around.
To your face, Gene.
Good to see you. Wow, that was a awkward handshake.
Thank you very much.
That was fast. We took care of that one.
That must be a record.
Okay. So next time, we will cover the attachment 1, and we'll go into more detail for next time. Anything else?
Pat, do we need to approve? Need a motion to approve the application and postings?
Okay, so who wants to make a motion on that?
Real quick before we do that, Pat, did you read over the form? Is it okay?
And I'll also say there's an entire thing of process and schedule for adoption for the home rule charter that has the specific dates and the time commitment that we think. So I would suggest that we include that with the application so that anyone filling out the application is aware of exactly what our process and schedule is and knows whether they're capable or have the time to meet the requirements. So I don't know if
I just lost power on my top, but is there a deadline date to get those in?
August 1st is what Pat and I talked about.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That'll be on the posting on the web?
Right. So we'll have it on our city website. We'll have it in the newspaper. And that way we can get the applications in, and then we'll go to the next step. Next time, right, Pat?
Will we establish our numbers at that point? I know it's up to 15.
15.
Council will be in it. I'm assuming you're going to chair it?
We're going to have to discuss all that.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to go over.
We need you to chair.
Yeah, we're not doing that yet. That's a long discussion.
So, okay, so what we're saying here is that we have an application, we are soliciting applications based on the process and schedule that is posted in this agenda.
Right.
And then the selection process will be determined at the next.
Right. We're going to have some meetings before that, so we're ready for that, because there's some options to look at, so we need to talk about that before we do that July 8th.
Yeah, it'd be.
It will be.
Council meetings.
Mhm.
Pat,
July
is
8th.
there anything we need on this that has like any type of disqualifiers? Are there disqualifiers that are out there? Because I don't know.
Well, the one thing that I put in here, that council will not be able to serve on this commission.
You did put that on there, which is different than we talked about.
Yes.
So that's different than when we were talking on the Zoom,
Yes.
that you said they would be. So now you're saying, and I saw that, and that was my question on that.
It's because this initial committee will be like a public office. So usually if there is an incompatibility of a public officer, which all are, appointing yourselves to another public office, it's the autonomy that this commission has versus a charter review commission, which is what you do for amending your charter.
Because they will be the ones, the council actually will be the ones, after the citizens have it, it comes back to council, right?
To call the election, correct.
There was a question. Marcy?
I didn't realize we would be discussing this, or I would have said something, I would have signed up to speak.
Next time, we're going to talk about that. We're only talking about application tonight. Is that right, Pat?
I'm okay with Marcy talking if everybody else is okay.
Pat?
I just want to make sure it's germane.
The application was all that was listed on the.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So let's do that July 8th. We're going to get in really, the deep discussion on that. So tonight is just the application. So, yeah, that would be great.
My only point being, I want to make sure that the process and schedule for the adoption of the homeroom charter is included with the application, so that even if we had
They know what
changed
they're
that
applying for.
official process, anyone applying understands what the time commitment is. No? Marcy?
So, I did not agree with the May election. I think this could be done and should be done for a November election. That's my problem with the extra piece of paper that was put in the packet. That's what I would have spoken on, so.
So you'll be back July 8th to,
We would.
Yes, ma'am.
yes, please. Jean, you had something?
Yeah, I guess, is there any consideration that form can be put online as a fillable form and submitted to the city online?
I'm guessing we can do that, right, Leah? Rose can do that, I'm thinking.
That's technology beyond my ability to commit.
Todd, can you come see us, please? I don't want to yell across the room. He can hear everything. So fillable application, did you hear that? That should be easy to do because you can do that, right? 100%. Okay, so we're good to go. Jean, we're good. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, so for the application, we have, do we have a motion for that to approve the application?
Make a motion to approve the application as presented.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Any
In
discussion?
discussion, yes. Point of clarification. So is when we said as presented, that is just these 2 pages, or is it the 2 pages plus schedule?
I'm assuming schedule would be with that, because people need to know what's expected. That's a lot of time. No matter what election date we pick, it's still a lot of time and effort put in.
So Pat?
What we decided is that we would have to have it in by August the 1st. So that's not in this schedule, because we had it set up earlier. So.
And that's not on the form. So
No.
that's not in anything that we have.
Correct.
So we're simply.
What I would intend is to have this
No
type of explanation with a deadline August 1st.
So we want to get we want to tell them what they're signing up for. Let's say 7 meetings or, move along,
Yeah,
let's
just
get
let
it
them
done
know
if
what
we're
they're gonna
doing
be
it.
doing,
Right.
And here's the form, you need to get back to us by August the 1st.
So you've done this a lot, Pat, so you can help us put that together fast and get that out there and get that posted in the news and on our site. And Todd just told us they can go online and fill it out there, right?
Is this something we need to set up like the terms of service or the user agreement where you have to scroll all the way to the bottom to say, I read everything, check it before you can actually get to the form? We want to make it as kind of the first point of visibility, like here is our expectations. If you're good with that, click accept, you're now or to the form.
And then fill out the
And then
form.
fill it out, or just, here's the form, this is attached with it. We're expecting that if you're applying for this, you've also read all the information attached.
That probably makes sense. And then we'll have applications here for people
Yes, paper.
who are old school and like me. I want a piece of paper, and I'll do it that way too. So there's several ways to do that, right?
Right.
Now, that makes sense.
I'm just trying to clarify the motion.
That's where I'm
The
at.
motion is simply to put an application online. It doesn't have any deadlines, it doesn't have anything.
Correct.
But we're just putting an application online. We may never form a commission, we may never do anything, because that's not what we're doing tonight. We're just putting an application.
But we're
online.
saying if you want to fill out the application, you have
can
till
turn it-
August 1st to, so if no one does it,
There is no August 1st on the form.
There's no date on there. Do we need a date?
That's-
But expectations, that's a lot
Right.
of meeting time.
It's your motion, that's why I'm clarifying, sorry.
I'm going to retract my motion then on that. I think we need to have a date on it and what the expectations are.
Pat, so you can help us with the expectations, and then we'll go back
Mm-hmm.
and do the August 1st if that is there.
It's easy to add.
Okay.
I just don't want somebody signing up for this and then going, oh my gosh, we're meeting twice a month. That's crazy. For however long.
Pat, would Councilmember Gilliland need to modify or amend his motion with an adage of it, or?
That's why I prepared this process, because I was asked to do that.
Right.
So we could kind of tell the citizens, here's what to expect. So I think it's valuable because, if, as Ms. Galley said, if we're going to have it this November, that would give us 18 days to have commission meetings and call the election. That's impossible. Absolutely.
August 18th is the deadline. August 18th is the deadline
Yeah.
to get anything on a ballot for November.
So, if we're doing it August 1st, there's no way we'll have a November election.
Would Councilmember Gilliland need to
Yeah.
change his motion?
To add the process and schedule as contained in the memo with the change of August 1st as a deadline to submit the application.
I'll amend that.
Yeah, but wait, didn't you have a change that you wanted, Mayor?
I was going to say, then we haven't discussed this entire process and schedule, unless,
Right.
but we can do that now, but that,
Right.
so I didn't, and that was my question to you, Mayor, is did you want to have more discussion on process and schedule before we make a motion?
Or can we put subject to change?
Well, because we don't want to wait till July
That's an
8th.
oversimplification.
Yes.
I think you were itching to say something.
No, I'm not, but
Okay.
I would recommend this. Put an application out there, because we're going to approve the application as presented.
Right.
We can have, on the website, we can have a link to, hey, basically it says, this is the schedule and process of the Home Rule Charter. If they don't read it, that's on them, but they got the application in.
And don't do a checkbox, what Nate was talking about. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Right. So,
And we'll also have, because I guarantee you, regardless if you put it on the website or not, we're going to have people calling us at City Hall saying, what's my obligation? What's my job here? What's this role? How much time am I going to spend?
you send them to the website.
We could send them to the website. I can give them a hard copy. I think you need to have something out there, whether it's part of the application or not, just a
Okay.
general overview.
So we can add those details to it, but put the application out there.
Yes, ma'am. I think we're talking about two separate issues, the
Right.
application and then.
So the application,
Right, well-
subject to adding
Well,
the,
it was my intent that basically we'd issue a press release from this meeting the community news, put it on our Facebook. The mayor announcing we're seeking applications for the first
Yes.
charter commission for the city of Willow Park.
Right.
Their role will be to research and draft the initial charter for the city.
Okay.
It's anticipated this will be a multi-month obligation.
Right.
Require a couple of meetings a month.
Right.
And so give them some context.
Okay.
You must be a qualified or registered voter of the city to be a member of the commission, and a resident of the city, of course, because of that.
Right.
Just a little brief thing like that. Attached is the application.
Okay.
And so put it on our Facebook page, put it on our website, and hopefully the newspaper will run that, and we'll have all of our bases covered. And so citizens will know what their role may be.
Right.
If they're selected.
And you added on the second page that you thought we needed, so there are 2 pages
That
to
was
it.
just that's on the application form.
Right.
Just what the mayor's talking about. I found an application form, and the mayor's in the form she had done. It's similar to what I had. It just did not have the second page to it. Since this commission will be like a E&Z, or it'll be a board or commission of the city,
Okay.
this says that you be subject to the rules of the city and the policies of the city. As if you,
Great. And that was added to page 2, so that's good.
So basically, it's that form that you have
Yes.
plus page 2
Okay.
of the other form. So I don't know if
And
anybody
when you're saying page 2, is that process and procedures?
No.
Okay.
This is
You're
what
just
you
saying
added.
the 2,
Yeah.
It's once at your
Right.
dais.
so you're saying
Yes.
simply approve that. There are no dates.
Well, it's this one
Yep.
plus
This and this.
the other page. So this comes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the. Should it look like this?
No.
Pat, my question is this. That's the form. It is for a home rule charter commission.
Correct.
And what I don't understand is that we have not, literally the process and procedure says at its June 24th, 25 council meeting, we approve the application form for it.
Yes.
And once approved, the application will be placed on the city's website in an article. Okay, so that's what you just
Yeah.
read. So we don't need an action to form a commission. We could potentially have a form without forming a commission.
That's right.
Okay.
You'll do that at your next meeting.
Okay,
You'll
that's
select
what I
a
wanted to
number.
be clear.
You know,
If we
you
vote
get
to not
300
form a
applicants,
commission, we have a form that.
you've got a lot to call out. If you get 10,
Okay.
you'll have 10.
You need a minimum of, well, there's 15 max.
That's, actually, when you select them, there is no max. That's if there's an election.
Okay.
It's, I would say, no more than up to 15.
Okay.
Practical matter. But you can pick 12, 13, 14, whatever we get. Just thinking out loud, if you want to have each council member appoint 2 and the mayor appoint 2, it just depends, however you want to do it.
And we'll get into those details.
Yes.
And so, okay,
Next
so that's
time.
what you're saying, is let's solicit applications and then work through the process while we have a stack
Next step.
of applications.
And that's,
Okay.
and instead of what I had suggested here, which is July 15th,
Right.
and then appoint that commission at the 22nd, the mayor's not going to be here. So we're going to slip that down to August the 1st to turn in the applications.
Right, because I'm going to
And
be here.
Consider that appointment process or setting up the commission at the August 12th meeting.
But those dates will be at the next meeting that we're setting when applications are due. So it's
Yes.
not a 2-week.
Correct.
You must submit them by, okay.
So do we need to go back and do a motion again? I mean,
No, well, I think we've had a lot of discussion on the existing motion, as long as you are not retracting your motion.
I'll
You made
stick with
an
it. Do we need to put that date on there, I guess is what my question.
Yes, we will put August.
With the addition of the August 1st date, 5 PM or whatever.
and so we need a second.
No, I'm going to amend your motion to put August 1st.
Yeah, that's what it said. Amend the motion for August 1st.
I second the amendment.
Okay, no more discussion, we're going to vote.
Let's vote on the amendment first, right?
Yes.
Yes.
As compared to,
Yes.
Yeah.
So all in favor of the
Of the,
amendment?
Right.
of the amendment, yes.
In favor.
Yes. Okay, now we,
Got that,
Now the application is
now,
next?
Now, the original motion.
now the original motion, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're going back to that, the vote?
All in favor?
Okay, say aye, we're done. Okay, and we're not doing executive session. We're not done, but, so no executive session.
Correct.
Okay. So,
Mayor and council comments.
I'm up. Okay, short but brief. Okay, y'all voted for me, and I just want to tell you, it has not been a joyride this first month. It is everybody getting used to everybody, and I'm a little different than the last mayor, and I know that. I have a million questions. I just do. But I will say my goal was to just one-on-one meet the employees that we have in this office. And I'm not quite finished, but I will tell you the ones that I have sat down with one-on-one, they are so qualified. Oh my gosh. Because I asked them, where did you come from? What do you do here? And they have their qualification and their experience that I found has been great. All of them. And I wanted to say that. And also, not quite finished, but I also wanted to meet the police officers that I didn't know. So I did 2 ride-alongs. Wow, was that a ride? So with the 2 sergeants, and so Chief Lacey has just been wonderful explaining his process. I don't know where he went. He's in there. Do you hear me, Chief Lacey? Yes. There you go. He's been wonderful in explaining what they do, and the ride-alongs were fantastic because I did one during the day and one, believe it or not, midnight run. So the city, seeing the city during the day and the police officers driving me around explaining what they do during the day and at night was a wonderful experience, and I probably will do that again, because they just have the eyes on everything that's happening out on the streets, and that's been wonderful too. So, any city manager comments before? You've talked a lot.
Yes.
Would you like to say some more things?
Just a few.
Go first, Brian?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I would like to say, and I don't know if I'm, thank you for all the questions. I'm not joking when I say that Marcy has, I have a long list of things, and out of respect for our new mayor, kind of trying to get some things done, I haven't sat down and gone over all of them with her yet, but since some of them were brought up today, I would like to request speaker policy. That's been on my list for a while. I would like for us to address the speaker policy and get that adopted. So if we could add that to an agenda item. Thank you, KJ. That is something that's been, I would like to, as we look at.
Are you talking about your 3 to 5 minutes?
Yes,
Yeah, there was a policy, I think KJ.
Right,
Yeah.
that she referenced. Okay, I want to be
It is
sure.
something that oversight had not ever been fully adopted and agreed upon, and I would like to see that included in an agenda item as we need to work it in with the schedule of a lot of other things like home rule and budget. So
That should be pretty fast.
I would think so, so.
Okay.
The comp plan revision, that's something that I would like to see us, I think we adopted our future land use, so we've done little bits and pieces. If that's potentially a budget thing, whether we need a budget for a consultant to work on that, so that is something I'd like to see us look at. I was going to ask Michelle to give us a full water and wastewater capacity, how that's allotted with various taps that are going to be coming on that we know of, that we've committed to. Some of our ETJs that we're not even talking about right now. We don't have any developers. What could we potentially be, maybe in our future land use, identifying what those capacities for water and wastewater would need. So having an entire update to that to present to council. I know I'm speaking fast, I have notes for you, Dina, I'll give you tomorrow. The pavement study, I've had a few citizens reach out to me over the past several months and specifically in the last couple of weeks. We did a pavement study. I met with Chase and with Gretchen. Gretchen's out of town now. We should be seeing the overall presentation of that pavement study at our next council meeting, July 8th. That'll be an overview, and then we'll dive into the numbers on the 22nd, where they're talking about what those numbers actually mean for our pavement study. Along with that, to Roy Ramos's questions about some of the debt and the 1.5 million tax note that we put for some road work, that should generate a hearty discussion of debt over the next 5 years of how we might be able to structure that. So I'm hoping some of those budget meetings will have that debt discussion, but I do think that that's very important that we see. That was a try to get some quick asphalt paving done this summer with that tax note. We need to be looking at every single road in Willow Park and when it's going to fit into it. And I don't want to have long council meetings, but however we can start that discussion, I would love to see that. And whether or not we have any new drainage projects that we need to be working on, getting some estimates. We've completed, I think, that first round with our drainage fee, whether we have some drainage projects that we need to be getting some engineers working on. So, thank you. That's it.
That's a lot, okay.
That's it for tonight, Teresa.
Oh, right,
There's a
thanks. Okay, great.
whole
I have a
spreadsheet
few.
of
Oh, my gosh.
I have a few as well. Leah stole a little of my thunder of my checklist, but I would like a road project update of the 13 roads we're going to be doing, when the county is going to start that, to make sure we have adequate communication out, so that way everybody knows what's going to happen, making sure we all understand the timeline as well. We can make sure we put it on the webpage, Facebook, other places as well. We need to schedule our wastewater plant tour, Michelle. I'd like to try to do something like that before it gets super hot. We're still in the 90s, so I feel like maybe we could do something in the morning and that might be okay.
I would like to make a suggestion.
Yes.
Can we wait until, say, September, because then the expansion should be done by that point too, so.
We have a lot of equipment there right now?
Yeah.
Okay, then let's hold off for a little bit. I'll set a reminder.
I'll say this, unless we want to post this as a meeting, then we probably just, Pat, we can't take them all out there, can we?
You have to post a quorum.
Have to post notice of quorum, yeah. So if y'all wanted to go individually or in groups of 2 without a quorum,
That sounds great.
yeah.
Woohoo.
We don't need to have the whole group there.
Right, yeah,
So if
just
you-
meant for like kind of
Yeah.
the public, if
Yeah.
they wanted to see.
You want to come out tomorrow, give us a call.
Yeah. Last thing is also with the parks restrooms, when that might get started as well.
Okay. Okay.
And in that concept, was there a water fountain?
I don't believe there was.
That would be a question I would like to ask, if that could be something on there, because it's hot, there's kids playing soccer and running around, and there's only so much water parents can bring, so.
Okay.
Just thought.
Is that it? It's 9, okay, wow.
I have 10 things for the July 8th meeting, and we haven't even done the workshop yet.
You have 10 things to add for the July meeting?
No, I just had 10 things that were just announced.
Oh, okay.
Anybody else?
I just want, Greg Runnerbaum's out because he got injured. I think
Yes.
An accident of his own doing, but I wish him well. Hope he gets well soon, so.
Crack ribs are not fun.
And thank you for everybody coming out tonight, by the way, thank you. Sorry.
I was just going to say, to follow up on Councilman Contreras from last time, asked for prayers for Cole Thompson's family. Mr. Thompson did end up passing away, for those who haven't heard. He was just an amazing, and I didn't know him super well, but he served as a head coach for my son's all-star team last year, and just had an amazing experience with him, just the way that he could bring out the best in the coaches, the players, everyone around him. And so continued prayers for the Thompson family in the days ahead.
Along those same lines, keep Rose Hoffman in your thoughts and prayers. Her dad had a medical emergency and just got out of surgery this afternoon, so Rose has been out of pocket for a couple of days. just keep her dad in your thoughts and prayers. We will, a number of us, including the mayor, will be going to Georgetown Thursday to go to the legislative wrap-up so we can find out all the wonderful things the legislature has done to us over the last, for the next 2 years. I will be going on vacation after that trip, so tomorrow's my last full day in the office for a couple of weeks. We're going to let Nate be in charge for a couple of days.
He's excited. Look at that smile.
If you need me, I'll be at a location undisclosed. I'll be at a CIA black site. And I also want to thank Marcy Galley for her service and the fact you get to go back for a special session in July. Congratulations. Austin sucks in July.
She's excited. Is that
Are you-
it?
Yes, ma'am.
We're done? Okay, so we need to adjourn. Thank you very much. See, I barely tapped.
I know.